All right, good morning. We're here with Mayor Jim Cahill in New Brunswick. This is Charlie Cradaville in New Brunswick today. Following up from our last interview, the Moody's Investor Service actually did downgrade the general obligation rating of the city back in 2010. What can you tell us about that and just in general about the city's credit rating and what it means to New Brunswickers?
Well, what we did is, for folks that may have heard our last discussion, you had indicated there was a downgrade. I had indicated that I didn't believe there was. And I indicated that I thought we remained stable at an A minus. And so we both agreed we go check our sources and see who was right and go from there. So what I did is I went back a 20-year period. This is for you, and looked at our bond ratings from both Moody's and Standard & Poor's, which I referred to during our last discussion as well, and listed the bonds that they were issued with and the rating that was given by both Moody's and Standard & Poor's when they were involved in the process. And on all of the bond issues that we were involved with, each of those on the Moody's side went from an A3 rating to an A2 rating, and that A2 rating started in 2010 with the bonds that you were talking about. An A2 is higher than an A3.
Okay, so
So from a bond rating perspective from Moody's, on the surface, it looks like there was an upgrade from an A3 to an A2. And just coincidentally, Standard & Poor's has remained consistent at an A plus rating. They don't go A1, 2, and 3. They go A minus, A plus, etc. But Standard & Poor's has been always at an A plus from the first involvement with us in 2003 through and including 2017 this year. But you were correct that there was a downgrade. Unrelated to the issuance of a bond by the city. Moody's did a recalibrate, what they refer to as a recalibration of its municipal rates. So it took, as part of a restructuring of how they rate municipalities, they took the city's then A3 rating and simply turned it into an A1 rating. They didn't do any further analysis. They didn't do any independent review of the things that they normally look at, and they just simply said for municipalities, including New Brunswick, which were A3, we're now making you an A1. That happened in or about April of 2010, with no bond before that, no bond applications, no bond issuances for them to rate in front of them. It was an internal thing for them. So when we went out for bonds in the latter part of 2010, while on the surface it looks like we were upgraded from an A3 to an A2, in fact, internally to Moody's, we went from the recalibrated rate of A1 down to an A2.
A3?
No, A2.
A2. Okay.
A2.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So, so I guess what does this mean for the city? You think it's not a big deal? The report does talk about the amount of tax exempt properties and the rental revenue from the commercial real estate that the parking authority's been building. Yep. Do you think those are serious concerns? Do you think that the debt is an issue?
I didn't mean to cut you off in your question. Is it a serious concern? All of these are concerns, but they are concerns that we face every day in the city. The types of things that they noted is the amount of tax-exempt property. We have a lot of tax-exempt property in the city. The general estimate we use is 50%. With Rutgers, government offices, not-for-profit companies, social service agencies, churches. But all those things help to make the city what it is. So while economically there could be problems, that you're not deriving revenue from those things, by the same token, oftentimes those things generate income. So that they make the for-profit, the non-exempt properties worth more because of the collateral benefits that we have for those companies or entities being in town. They also noted that we have a lower income level than do a lot of municipalities. And they also talked about how that is also compounded by the presence of college students in town who are generally lower income while they're going to school. Again, that is who we are. We are a community that has always had lower income people in it. It's part of what makes us special in our diversity in every way, including income levels of our people. And certainly the lower income Rutgers students help to add to the vibrancy of the community. So it is a problem only to the extent that from what perspective you look at. And in New Brunswick, we are what we are, and we recognize that. So what does that mean from a funding perspective? I mean, what's really the impact on our financial wherewithal and our ability to move forward with borrowing money? It's minuscule, if any. The parking authority, for whom the city guaranteed the debt, as noted in the Moody's report, has never defaulted on any of its obligations, nor has it ever come close to defaulting on it. And we do analyses of are they going to make the rent? Are they going to, not the rent, are they going to make the bond payment?
Yeah, the debt.
Are they flush enough that if there is a short-term obstacle, not unlike Fresh Grocer, can they withstand that? And all of that was monitored and quite frankly handled, I thought, terrifically. So, very long-winded answer, and I apologize for being so long. The bonds that were issued in 2010 that involved the Moody's rating of A2 for the first time involved two projects, and I believe some refunding. Refunding a bond takes an old debt, recasts it. We do that oftentimes if we see that the market has changed to the better. It's kind of like refinancing a mortgage.
Right. Okay.
If you had a 5% interest rate and now you get a 3% interest rate, it's worth it for you to do that. The two incidents that were big ticket items in this were Wellness Plaza and Gateway, both of which had parking components in it that not only service the projects themselves, but help defray the parking demand for the Farron site down the road. So with future planning in mind, with our ability to know that we'll cover cost, on balance, you say those projects are worth doing. Because if we didn't do the bonds in those instances, they wouldn't have happened. The projects wouldn't have happened.
Do you see the parking authority borrowing more, in addition to...
They just did in connection with the Performing Arts Center. Yeah. And again, there's an analysis. I think there's, I forget the number of spaces, I think it's a little over 300, but it might be larger than that. But you need to have some parking for that project to go forward. The parking authority will certainly lease out the 300 and some odd spaces. In addition to that, we were able to accommodate the American Repertory Ballet in the parking authority space, giving them for the first time a home. So if you're going to move an initiative in the arts, and if you're going, you have to fund it, you have to make sure it happens, and you have to make sure it's successful. So we borrowed the money for the parking authority to do what they're doing, knowing full well we're not going to have any problem covering its debt.
How about moving forward, though, like with the Farron site, which is still owned by the parking authority? They've expressed an interest in building some parking component there. Are they going to borrow millions to do that?
Things could change dramatically as we go forward on this. But the current thinking is that unlike Wellness, which was the primary owner of the properties there, we're marketing this to private sector development. So private sector will come in, build their office buildings, build their retail, and we'll analyze parking demand. And then we'll look at the best way to provide and then manage the parking. If it becomes important or advantageous to the city for the parking authority to take on that role of developer of the parking facilities and the overall management of it going forward, then that's what we'll do. But like all of these projects, it's done on a thorough analysis of the facts and circumstances involved in each and every individual matter.
Thanks. Do you have a moment to talk about the Housing Authority audit? No. Okay.
It's 15 minutes and it's about 15 minutes. So if you have a 1 minute question, I can do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to address what are the corrective actions that are being taken. This audit incorporated a lot of different errors, mistakes, concerns. What's being done about it?
There's a detailed corrective action plan that the Housing Authority has filed with HUD. So rather than try and give you a decent enough synopsis in the 60 seconds that are now less than 60 seconds that I have, I will have the Housing Authority, I will ask the Housing Authority to get that over to you.
That'd be great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Charles, good seeing you.
Have a good one.
Take care.